So Dr. Rahul has asked this question, sir, how to avoid distractions, how to remain focused? I waste a lot of time and then feel guilty. Please help. This is a question of not only Dr. Rahul, but a large number of students ask this question. And before I talk about the possible ways of cutting down on distractions, I want to flag a point. And the point is that it is actually very difficult for us to remain focused and for us to avoid distractions. Why? The answer is given by evolutionary psychology. Basically, the hypothesis is that humans evolved around 200,000 years back, and around 10,000 years back agriculture happened. Why am I telling you all this? Because for 200,000 years the life that humans lived was a nomadic life. Humans would live in smaller groups, they would hunt, they would gather the food, and then they would move to someplace else. Around 10,000 years back agriculture happened and people started living in a specific area. They would live in a particular area for longer periods of time, but still the area was quite bigger. Around 250 years back, 300 years back, industrial revolution happened, and now the machines were made. People started living in even smaller areas because they primarily had to work on machines. And the professions like ours, doctors, CAs, lawyers, where you have to sit and study for long hours, is even more recent. Why is it important? Because the human behavior and the way the humans live and the way that the humans succeed, it has changed rapidly in last few centuries. But our genes have not changed that much. The evolutionary psychology says that we carry the same gene that we carried, say, 100,000 years back. Our genes are attuned to a life which is nomadic, where people go out, hunt, the life is adventurous. Our genes are not conducive with the life that we live, where we sit in a small room and we stare at a piece of paper or we stare at a screen for hours. So why am I telling you all this? I am telling you all this because what you are trying to do is actually pretty difficult. But still you have come this far. If you are an MBBS student, you are already doing probably better than 99% of the population. So good job, kudos, well done. You have to tell yourself that. Now that we have established that what you are trying to achieve is actually quite difficult, let us talk about the next part. What can we do about it? See, avoiding distractions, remaining focused, studying, all these things require a lot of sacrifice. Your inherent desire, your inner voice that wants you to go out, that wants to have fun, that wants to enjoy, that wants to socialize, you have to keep it silent. You have to suppress that voice, and that is why it is painful. That is why we call it a sacrifice. It's a difficult thing to do. You can do a couple of things to improve your focus. You can do a couple of things to avoid distractions. The first and the foremost is that avoid all those situations which you know can result in distraction. What do I mean by that? More often than not, when some event happens or something happens, we know that we might get distracted or we might end up wasting time. But still we tell ourselves that it's okay, let's go, let's see. For example, just giving an example, say you are sitting in the reading room and you hear some voice or some noise coming from the ground floor out of the library, just outside the library. And there are always one or two people who are very inquisitive. They immediately stand up and they go outside to see what is happening. Now you are sitting and the thought comes that okay, let me also check out what is going on outside. At the same time, another voice in your head tells you that please don't go outside, you will end up wasting time, something might have happened, the hospital is nearby, something might have happened. So both voices are there simultaneously. Sometimes you listen to the second voice which tells you to sit down, to remain seated, and sometimes you listen to the first voice that okay, let me check what is going on. You also many times give yourself a rationalization. You also tell yourself that I'll go outside, I will not waste much time, I'll come back in 5 minutes. But that doesn't really happen. When you go outside, you come back probably after an hour or 2 hours, or you don't return, you return the next day or in the evening. So if we can cut down in the beginning itself, if we can cut down in these situations, if we can stop ourselves in these situations, probably you would not get distracted. Secondly, there are many things that would demand your attention. You have to create a space for yourself where distractions are minimal. For example, if you're working on the desktop, if you're working on the laptop, try to have only one tab open at a time. If you have 5 tabs open, on one tab the Facebook is open, on the other tab the news is open, on the third tab the Insta is open, on the fourth tab your email is open, you are likely to waste a lot of time. You would keep on hopping from one tab to another, and in between you will also keep on studying, and the worst part is your efficiency would be bad, and the worst part is you would even feel tired. You will think that you have been studying, whereas all that you were doing was to jump from one tab to another and jump from one task to another. Jumping from one task to another is a sure shot way of decreasing your efficiency. Don't do that. Try to keep your phone on DND, do not disturb. Because again, see the problem is, once you get distracted, once you say you're studying and the phone rings and you start talking, say you talk for 10 minutes and then you hung up the phone and you again open the book, it's not that you would start studying again at the 11th minute. It will take you a significant amount of time to get back into that rhythm. So these small distractions, it's not that you just wait that amount of time when you were doing something else. You end up wasting a lot more, because it takes you a lot more time before you can go back to the studies and get that focus back. So keeping the phone on DND, not allowing any notifications. There should be no notifications at all. Your phone should not ring unnecessarily, repeatedly. So you can do all these things. Another thing that you can do is, this is more related to studies. A large number of students are part of many groups, Telegram group, Facebook group, this group, that group, and they're always connected. There's that FOMO, fear of missing out. They feel that something might happen, somebody might tell a very important question, some important announcement may happen. Now the likelihood of you getting to know a very important question on one of these groups is pretty low. First of all, there is nothing like extremely important question. You do not know what question is going to be asked. So the likelihood of you getting to know something extremely important through these groups is quite slim. But the possibility of you wasting a lot of time on these groups and wasting a lot of attention on these groups is quite high. So my suggestion is, do not use too much of social media. Cut down on social media as much as possible. The problem with the social media is it makes you feel that you are doing something productive when you are not. So try to be part of minimal groups. Don't try to be too connected, and try to cut down on this FOMO thing. The fear of missing out, it is there in all of us, but you have to tell yourself that this is something that is not productive. Another thing that would stop you from getting distracted is, this is quite specific for our students, medical students, the controversial questions, the controversy of the controversial questions. In every reading room, there are a couple of students who love to talk about controversial questions. They'll raise a question and they'll tell you that this source says this and this source says that, and what is the real answer. And then they would open the textbook, they would open the Harrisons, they would open some other book, they would open notes of this institute, notes of that institute, notes of this teacher, notes of that teacher. And before you even realize, rather than being a task of finding out the answer, it has a task of having fun. You are enjoying, you are going from one task to another, you are going from one source to another, and then you are telling that this could not be true, this could not be true, and you are telling 10 people more, you are going to the seniors and asking the same question. So before you even realize that controversial question, the so-called desire to find the answer to that controversial question may end up wasting hours of your life. You may end up wasting the entire evening thinking about the question. Please don't do that. Controversial questions are controversial because of a reason, and the reason is that the answer is not clear. The answer is debated. So whenever you see somebody talking about controversial question and trying to dig deep into it, just tell them that, okay, I am not a part of it. I would rather study 20 more questions in that time than run after one question. Even after following all these things, you are bound to waste time. uh, Probably we should not even use the term wastage of time. See, you are a human being, you are not a machine. It's not that you can study for 24 hours a day or 16 hours a day, right? It's very difficult. So when you waste time, or when you are not able to utilize time, or say when you waste a session, say you get up in the morning, you plan that I'll study hard, you reach the library at 10 o'clock, and then you get involved in something, and by the time that thing gets over, it's say 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now your inherent tendency is to feel guilty about it, as Dr. Rahul was saying. You feel guilty about it, you feel bad about it, and often you tell yourself that, okay, I wasted a lot of time. Sometimes you say bad things to yourself, what a loser I am, how can I waste so much time, I would never get selected. You say these things and you feel even worse, you feel even more bad. And many times you end up saying that, okay, I'll start studying properly from tomorrow. The time is already wasted, let me go and watch a movie now. Please don't do that. If you have wasted one session, do not allow that thing to get converted into a whole day wasted. Even if you wasted 4 or 5 hours, please ensure that you don't waste the rest of the time. And how do you do that? By saying the right things to yourself. You have to develop the art of negotiating with yourself. In this scenario where you have wasted like 4 or 5 hours, rather than telling yourself that I am such a loser and I wasted so much time, I would never get selected, what nonsense is this? Rather than saying all these things, negotiate with yourself. Tell yourself, tell this thing to yourself, dude, you wasted a couple of hours, it was not cool, it was not good, but it's okay. That is okay, that is over. Now the evening hours I'll use as much as possible. If you follow this second approach of negotiating with yourself, at least you would utilize the latter half of the day. But when you criticize yourself unnecessarily, and when you are mean to yourself, you end up worsening your mood even further, and you end up worsening the entire day. So learn the art of negotiating with yourself. Learn the art of saying good things to yourself. Learn the art of telling yourself that, okay, I messed it up, I wasted this much time, but it's okay, I would utilize the remaining period. This is very important. This is going to save you a lot of time. So in a nutshell, it is difficult to stay focused, but you have to do it because you are trying to achieve something which is super tough. And for that to happen, you'll have to make certain changes. You'll have to avoid things which are likely to waste your time. You have to avoid the controversial questions. You have to ensure that not more than one tab is open on your laptop or desktop. You have to ensure that your phone is on DND, the notifications are off. And you also have to ensure that if for some reason you are not able to utilize one half of the day, that should not get converted into the entire day getting wasted. And last but not the least, you have to learn the art of negotiating with yourself. So I hope these things help you, and my best wishes are always with you. Good luck.